This is just kind of a annual report out that I do regarding activities that ISA is involved with cybersecurity. So, who is ISA? I'm not sure everybody here is familiar with it. It's an International Society of Automation. It's a professional engineering society for automation engineers. There's about 35 or 40,000 members. We're global. You can see we have sections all around the world. We have conferences. We do certification of people. We do standards, and we've published about 150 standards. This year will be our 75th anniversary doing standards like calibration, etc. So, some of our activities. So we have 3 cyber consortiums that we run. One is we're a hosting organization for an organization called LOGIIC. Does research and development for automation and the oil and gas industry. It's a partnership with the Department of Homeland Security, Science and Technology Directorate. I'll talk about it a little bit more. A recent organization that we stood up is the ISA Global Cybersecurity Alliance, and its mission essentially is to bridge the gap between this 1,000-page, 15-section set of standards that are probably the best engineered standards for operational technology in the globe. But it's not very digestible or usable, and so we're building derivative products and have a bunch of other missions that I'll get into to make these standards useful and help secure products that affect our everyday lives. There's ISASecure program. It's a product certification program. It was stood up to certify automation systems and components and the development practices to result in more secure commercial off-the-shelf products coming to the marketplace. We've been doing certifications since 2010. A new initiative within that is certification of building management systems. So it's a little bit outside of what you typically see or hear about for industrial controls. So LOGIIC, a little bit more. LOGIIC is currently assessing vulnerabilities in safety systems deployed in the oil and gas industry. And so they'll publish the results. They're on the LOGIIC website, available for everybody except for some of the items that are weaponizable or specific to a particular supplier's product. New projects are going to address cybersecurity and subsea exploration and extraction technology. So again, ISASecure is a globally recognized certification brand, started in 2007, largely driven by the Tier 1 suppliers for automation and the oil majors. We certify systems and components to the 62443 standards. The program is really taking off now. The standards were fully completed about a year ago or so, and there's a lot more interest even in the mainstream for this type of certification. A recent development is partnering with NEMA and the commercial real estate industry to stand up a facility certification program predominantly focused on commercial office buildings. But the program, it's not intuitive, but to certify a facility, the technology, the life safety systems, et cetera, is not a lot different than certifying systems in automation projects in oil and gas or other manufacturing sites. So we've been around for about 10 years in the ISASecure program, and these are all the various supporters, a lot of folks from oil and gas. You can see the certification labs like DNV, GL, TUV, SUD, TUV, Rhineland, Exida. It's a pretty well-structured program that uses it uses 17011 accreditation bodies to accredit the certification bodies. So little bit more about the Global Facilities Certification Program. National Electrical Manufacturers Association has about 300 or 400 members. They represent all the largest manufacturers of automation and other electrical components around the globe. And so we partner with them. We've got a lot of support and sponsorship from C.B. Richard Ellis. And this was inspired by the DOD. The DOD had a mission to certify all their buildings. They have 550,000 buildings. They put together some standards, realized that they didn't have a budget to do the certification, so they're partnering with private industry to stand it up. The Global Cybersecurity Alliance, this was a recently launched program. We launched it in the middle of last year. And again, its mission is to bridge the gap between the publication of the standards and adoption. And what do you do on Monday morning? And so we're organized, excuse me, around 4 working areas: awareness and outreach, advocacy and adoption, compliance and prevention, and training and education. So we have 25 members as of the second half of 2019, and we expect to add 50 more this year. Projects that are underway: how-to guide, a summary of 62443, consolidated cross matrix of 62443 to other standards, roadmap for expanded cooperation around the world. So we're going to work with promoting 62443 into government and regulatory standards. Workforce development, industry vertical overlays like for building management and other industries, and a speakers bureau. So these are some of the companies that are on board. I think some of them are here today. If I could see a show of hands of folks that are involved. All right. So if I could prevail on you, if one of you would like to come up and say a few words about why you joined the ISA Global Cybersecurity Alliance and what we expect to see out of it.
Thanks, Andre. Get your voice back. Take a second. Yeah, so my name's Andy Kling. I'm from Schneider Electric, and we're one of the founding members of the ISAGCA. Personally, one of the reasons that I was very, very anxious to join the GCA is because there's a realization that as we engage in cybersecurity, across those 4 missions, maybe if you could jump back a slide, I don't know if it's easy or not. 2 slides. Across those 4 missions, it's not something that as an OEM, as a vendor, I look at as a competitive situation. These are things that as an industry we're trying to solve. We've all heard many of us stand up and say, this is a call to awareness. This is an industry call to awareness. We all need to be working on trying to improve the cyber resilience, the cyber security of our products, our plants, of our assets, of our across the board. And the GCA was what we recognized as that forum, that ability, that place where we could come, bring our voice, join in with our peers across the industry, at the asset owner level, at the vendor level, and take on some of these big challenges.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, so is there any of the other folks that are in the audience that want to have a say? Okay. Kevin Staggs. Thank you.
Not just what Andy said, but I think one more thing, and I do work for Honeywell, so I'll give that disclosure, but I also co-chair Working Group 4 of ISA 99, which is doing the 62443 standards. And there's been a realization, I think, especially in the vendor community, especially those that do more than just industrial control systems, but do all kinds of different control systems, that 62443 applies across all of those systems. and to help drive that across all of the industries, including buildings, is a very key piece of ISAGCA.
Okay, so the question was, the audience member noticed that there were some things out of date and maybe even broken in the standard, and he's asking if we're going to fix it. So first I'll say that we're not a standards development organization. We take what we learn and we'll feed it back to the standards committees. We're going to be real careful about not stepping on it. But you can get a more complete answer from Kevin if you want to come back up here again. Kevin's been on the standards committees for, what, 10 years?
You are correct. There are issues in the standard. Standards go through a cycle of about 5 years from the time they're issued until they go out for a second edition or go into an editing phase for second edition. Some of the pieces of the standard are currently active in the second edition. 3.3 we just opened for second edition, so if there's any errors in 3.3 that you'd like addressed, I'll give you my email address. You can send it to me or anybody in ISA and we'll address it. 2-1 is also, it's almost in a complete stage for second edition. And we also realize that there's some issues with cohesiveness of the entire standards, and we actually are addressing that in the first quarter of this year. Okay, so the comments about duplication of standards or the feeling of multiple standards addressing the same thing, and it is NIST SP 800-82. We do have representation from NIST and other agencies in the ISA committee, and we do want to work and strive to unify those as best we can. The international standard that we really want to align with, the closest is the 27,000 series. So the 27,000 series is the IT standards, and the way that 2-1 has been restructured is to align with 27,000 and really highlight what the differences are between IT systems and OT systems. Well, yes, and I think Andrey kind of made the statement. I think one thing that we feel we did fairly well in ISA 99 is we wanted to really address all the different activities that occur across all the life cycles of an OT system, and not just really address the operational piece, but address what happens from vendors, from integrators, from the operational side. So we tried to be very, very comprehensive. 27,000 is in revision right now as well, and the next edition addresses some of what you've said as well.
Yeah, so the suppliers are particularly interested in 62443 because most of them are selling products internationally, and so the NIST standards and the NIST framework are valuable, but if they're looking to have their products certified, certifying to an international standard means just one certification and it's recognized globally. And similarly, many of the larger companies, they have operations all around the world, and they would prefer to go with a single standard for their corporate cybersecurity engineering requirements. So that's the value of these standards. So one of the things that we're doing, I think I mentioned it earlier, was doing a cross-reference of 62443 to the key standards. A lot of work's been done there, and I'm finding I'm getting donations in a fragmented basis, but we want to put this together so if somebody has a question about if I do 62443, is that equivalent to ISO 27000, et cetera, and provide the basis for having that conversation based on facts. Yeah, so come on down. There's a lot of different ways to participate. These communities are great. There are a lot of things that we're looking to do in the future. We're discussing PCERT programs, but I can tell you between these three organizations, it's a who's who of some of the smartest folks in cybersecurity, And just by participating, you pick up a lot of really good information, gain a lot of learning, and you're going to be hanging out with the best of the best around the globe.